If you've been following the case, today's the day it all clicks into place. The killer gets named, the motive comes out, and Silva ties it all together. Hi, I'm Liz, and this is The Quiet Table. On this channel, I play solo RPGs where I show you exactly how satisfying this kind of immersive and unpredictable storytelling can be. This is the final part of my solo RPG mystery, which I have been playing using the Mythic GM Emulator and an article from Mythic Magazine number 6 called Creating Mystery Adventures. As always, I'm going to have everything linked in the description down below. And if you haven't yet watched the previous episodes in this series, please go back and start with the first one, or else this one is going to make no sense at all, and I promise it's going to be so much more satisfying if you watch them in order. I have the whole playlist linked in the description down below as well. So if you can't wait to see how Silva's story wraps up, I'm not going to keep you in suspense any longer. Come with me and let's finish this. Before we go any further, we need to figure out whether we should escalate the chaos factor. Last time it was 6. I'm going to say, given everything that has happened, yes, we are going to escalate the chaos factor. We're going to bring it up to 7. So the chaos factor is now at 7, and we need to figure out our next expected scene. I'm going to say that given what she just found out potentially about Ari, the murder weapon, she is going to try to verify Ari's alibi. So she's going to go talk to his boss. She's going to try to figure out if he was actually really late because he was, as he said, held up by work. So he initially told Silva that a signal relay on corridor 9A blew a fuse and he had to clear it. He couldn't leave it hot. And he said he came as soon as it was safe. So Silva now is doubting his story, and she wants to make sure that that is in fact what happened. So she is going to track down his boss and see if she can dig into whether or not there was a blown fuse and whether Ari was assigned to deal with it at that time. So the first thing I'm going to do is see if this scene actually plays out as expected. Our chaos factor is 7. I got a 6. So that is an interrupt scene. So if you remember, Mythic Mysteries has its own event focus table to be used for random events and interrupt scenes. It is possible for information about a clue or suspect to fall into your character's lap this way. So that's exactly what's happening here. So we've got our mystery event focus table, and we're going to roll on that to figure out our new interrupt scene. So we'll roll a D100. 62 is NPC negative. So to figure out which NPC, I'm going to roll on our suspects table. We got a 6, Lowen Cray. Now we don't really know much about Lowen Cray. What we do know is that Samuel Corbin pointed Silva in his direction initially, saying that he recognized the brass cufflink as belonging to Lowen. He also said that Lowen once ran with a serpent's kiss, but that he's missing. He disappeared right after a secret job. Given that I have no idea how this NPC negative item is going to play into our story, especially for somebody that Silva has had no contact with, I'm going to roll on the suspects table. I'm just going to roll on here once, and let's see what we get. And let's interpret that in a way that will work with our story. 97, wealthy, which makes sense given the cufflinks. I'm going to say that before Silva can go digging into Ari's alibi, which is what she was planning to do, she gets a call from Samuel Corbin, who knows that she had the brass cufflink and she was looking into Lowen Cray. And he says to her that a corpse matching Lowen Cray's description has turned up in a private club's furnace pit. And this to him suggests that somebody rich and powerful wanted him silenced. Now, whether this is connected to Rellan Phist's death, we don't know. We just know that this is NPC negative. This is something negative that happened to an NPC. Since we rolled Lowen Cray and he had gone missing, it makes sense that he would have turned up dead. I'm going to say that because she now has Samuel on the phone, the interrupt scene is going to be that she's going to ask Samuel for another meeting. She's going to want to talk to him again. She's going to want to ask him some more questions, figure out what he knows about Lowen, about his murder, and about Rellan Phist. And in order to do that, she's going to need to be really transparent with him, and she's going to have to come clean about why she's asking these questions. So I'm going to start out by rolling to see if he accepts, if he decides to meet with her. So we got chaos factor of 7. Given that he was the one who called her to tell her about the body, I'm going to say that it's likely that he would want to meet with her. 6. That's an exceptional yes. Not only is he willing to meet with her, he's eager. He's even insistent that they meet. This tells us that something has changed for him, that the stakes have climbed on his end as well. So either he is scared or cornered or emboldened or suddenly needs something from her just as much as she needs answers from him. He is pushing for this meeting this time. He steps off the lift and moves with the ease of someone used to dark corners and deeper shadows. But tonight, Samuel Corbin doesn't look like he's performing. His usual air of polished danger has been stripped down to something harder, a raw edge, some real weight. The glint of his rings catches the low amber light of the Torite platform's overhead lamps. His coat's collar is turned up against the misting pipes. He sees her, crosses the distance with quick steps, and doesn't waste any time. Listen, I've had enough. You want to burn the whole thing down? Then help me do it. He's standing close now, shoulders squared. His eyes search hers, not just for resolve, but for agreement. But if we do this, we both go all in. No more secrets, no half measures. You tell me who you are, who you're working for, why this is important to you. You take this shot, you take it all the way. That means if one of us goes down, we don't drag the other with us. And you have to know that what happened to Lowen could happen to either one of us. Let's figure out what she says to that. I'm gonna roll on the character conversations table to see how she responds. 92 gives me refuse. Oh, interesting. And 33, enthusiastic. So that is an enthusiastic refusal on Silva's part. She laughs quietly, not unkindly. The sound cuts across the tension, sharp but warm. You want me to dive headfirst into a pit when I don't even know how deep the pit goes? No. I'm not going to be your martyr, but I will help you. That sounds a lot like you don't want to finish what you started. No, it means we do this my way. And if our paths burn the same bridges, then so be it. But I'm not leaping blind because you're scared enough to call it courage. Corbin gives her a crooked smile. Oh, I love how full of fire you are. Silva gives him a wink. That's only because somebody's trying to throw me into the furnace. Okay, so I'm going to say that with that, she has earned a discovery check. On the suspects table, we've got 5 progress points, so I'll add that. 3 plus 5 is 8. Link clue to suspect. So I'm going to roll to see which clue we're linking. 60, most logical clue. Fine. So let's see which suspect we're linking to. 6. We're linking to Lowen Cray again, which is interesting because Lowen Cray is dead. But that doesn't mean he didn't kill Rellan Phist. He could have killed Rellan Phist and then gotten killed himself. We've already got the brass cufflink tied to Lowen Cray. So now we need to tie something else to Lowen Cray. Our options are the murder weapon, the valve piercer, the long black coat, the heavy loud boots, the northeast service hatch, or the small red envelope. And before I forget, I am going to give myself one more check mark here for another progress point. So now we've got 6 under suspects. Actually, you know what I just realized? That if the brass cufflink is Lowen Cray's, which we determined it could be, then he's also linked to the northeast service hatch. And that means that we have 2 clue points for Lowen Cray. So we are now looking for a 3rd clue to link to him, which would give him as many clue points as Samuel. What we're going to end up tying to Lowen Cray is the long black coat. Now the long black coat, that clue was given to Silva by Ari. He saw a man in a long black coat with heavy loud boots running away from the murder scene, which will bring him to 3 points as well. Silva leans against a rusted railing, her coat drawn tight. Corbin lights a slim taper of a cigarette, hands trembling just enough for Silva to notice. Silva watches him for a moment and then says quietly, "You said Lowen used to be quite stylish. Did he ever wear a long black coat?" Corbin exhales smoke, considering. Lowen? He practically lived in a black coat. Wool, high collar, silver buckles at the wrists. Too hot for most jobs, but he liked the look. Said it made him feel untouchable. Silva narrows her eyes, remembering Ari's account. A man in a long black coat disappearing into the steam through the northeast service hatch. You said the body was dumped in a furnace pit at a private club. Did they find anything left behind? So given that she is now asking Corbin directly, whether they found anything of interest on Lowen's body. I'm going to say that she earned another discovery check just by being blunt. We're at Chaos Factor 7. I'm going to say this is pretty unlikely. One, that officials would have discovered anything related to Rellan's murder, and two, that Corbin would know about it. But let's find out anyway. 30, yes. The officials did discover something interesting, and Corbin is going to share it with her. So to figure out what that is, we're going to roll on the mystery elements table. We're going to roll under clues, and we've got an extra 3 progress points to add. 5 plus 3 is 8. So once again, we're linking one of our existing clues to our existing suspects. So for clues, 59, we're going with the most logical clue. And for suspects, 9, we're going with the most logical suspect. So I'm going to say that the most logical suspect is once again Lowen Cray, because that's who we're talking about. We're talking about something having been found on him. Now, the most logical clue would be maybe some heavy, loud boots that were found on him as well. Up until this point, we thought the heavy, loud boots were connected to Samuel. But what if, given that they were heavy and loud, maybe they were steel-toed, maybe they did not burn up in the furnace pit. So maybe these are some unique boots. Maybe they're the same kind of boots that Samuel Corbin wears, which is why he would even know about it, about these types of boots, and why he'd be interested in them, and why he would mention it to Silva. Okay, so let's do a couple of things here. 1, we're going to add another progress point to our clues, and 2, we are going to link the heavy, loud boots. Actually, we're going to unlink them from Samuel Corbin, and we are going to link them to Lowen Cray. Lowen Cray now has 4 progress points. Extra interesting if he was killed because he killed Rellan Phist. But we don't know yet. We've got other suspects. I'm not sure. Was there anything else found with the body? You seem to have all kinds of information. You would know. Was there anything that didn't burn? Corbin taps the cigarette out and pauses, then glances around the dim platform. The overhead light flickers. Yeah, a pair of boots didn't entirely go up in smoke. What kind of boots? Steel-toed, heavy, industrial issue, kind of like mine. He lifts up his foot and shows her his heavy boots. Then he gives a bitter half-laugh. Did you know that back in the day, Serpent's Kiss liked to make sure we all look the same? They gave certain runners perks, gear, tools, contacts. Lowen got his hands on a pair of these boots just like I did. He wore them like a badge, just like I do. They're louder than a rusted tram gate, these boots, but I love them. So you're telling me that when they pulled what was left out of Lowen Cray out of that furnace, the boots didn't entirely burn? They're steel toe, reinforced leather, customized soles. They didn't just not burn, they were damn near pristine. Like I slip my feet into them and wear them right off that crime scene. Silva turns that over in her mind. Ari's account of a man in a long black coat, wearing heavy boots, leaving through the northeast hatch, all match Lowen Cray. A freight tram rumbles in the distance, low and thunderous. Silva stands with her back to the railing, wind curling her coat around her legs. You said you want to burn it all down. Yeah, and I meant it. I need specifics, Samuel. What is it? Who's at the heart of all of this? Corbin's gaze sharpens and his voice is low. The pipeline. Not just the smuggling ring. I mean, we all dabble. I'm talking about the ones who turned it into a full machine. The ones using the kiss like a puppet string. Leslie Lever's just a mouthpiece. Perry Flint's a thug. The ones at the top don't even get named. Then tell me one thing, Corbin. If you're so eager to burn the house down, why was your name on Rellan's list? Corbin tenses. What list? He left his son a message, an envelope. Inside was a card with 3 names on it. Lever, Flint, and yours. Corbin pauses, then snorts bitterly, shaking his head. Yeah, figures. He was smart, Rellan. Too smart to survive. That's not much of an answer. My name's on that list because I was part of the operation, in the early stages. We were moving prototype units, lightweight rigs, biotech splices. But then I found out who was really backing the shipments. Surface buyers, real shadows, not corpses in the gutter smugglers. So I bailed. I cut ties. I paid for it too. No more gigs, no more pull. Flint was the one who kept everyone in line. Lever played dumb, but he's always known more than he let on. Me, I only stayed in long enough to learn how the gears turned. Then I got out. So you didn't kill Rellan? Corbin freezes, the question hanging between them like the edge of a blade. He meets her eyes squarely. He doesn't flinch. He doesn't blink. No, I did not kill Rellan. If I had killed Rellan, I would have been smart enough not to leave a damn trail behind, and I certainly wouldn't have left any witnesses. I also wouldn't be standing here now talking to you. I am going to run another discovery check. I'm going to say that she earned this one too, given the back and forth that they've been having. And I'm going to ask if she discovers anything useful in this part of their conversation. I think this is going to be my last discovery check in this scene because she's pushed him about as far as she can. So let's find out. We're at Chaos Factor 7. Is she going to find anything else? Does he know who is pulling the strings? I'm going to say it's 50-50. He might not have a name specifically. 59. So with a Chaos Factor of 7, that is a yes. So she does find something else interesting and useful. So I'm going to roll on the suspect's mystery elements table. And we've got 6 extra progress points. So 10, link clue to suspect, and then remove 6 progress points. So 6 progress points is exactly what we had. I'm going to remove all of them. And now we're going to link a clue to a suspect. So again, another one of the clues we already have. I'm going to roll for it. 29. The murder weapon, the valve piercer. Okay, interesting. It is linked to Ari Val. Let's see who we're linking it to next. 3. We're linking it to Perry Flint. So that's interesting because Corbin had a few things to say about Perry, but he seemed to believe that maybe Lowen Cray was the one who killed Rellan. So there is something about Silva's question about who's pulling the strings that links the murder weapon, the valve piercer, with Perry Flint. Look, you should know that Perry and Leslie don't make a move unless someone higher up tells them to. Perry's the one who handled Lowen's last assignment. Lowen was alive before Rellan died. Now he shows up half charred in a furnace pit. So you're saying Lowen killed Rellan, following Perry's orders? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. A few days before Rellan was killed, I saw Perry with a valve piercer. It was modified, quiet, clean, sharpened, perfect for a surgical kill. Silva's blood goes cold. The valve piercer is the weapon that she found in the maintenance room. She pulls it out of a coat pocket and shows it to Corbin. Was this it? He looks at it. Could be. It's clean, not much mess. Just one hole right to the heart. Where'd you find it? Under the mattress where Ari Val was being held. Corbin's brow tightens. His voice drops. You're kidding. I wish I was. That's a setup if I've ever seen one. That's what I'm starting to think. Look, Perry never gets his hands bloody unless he has to. My best guess is that he passed it off to Lowen, wanting to make it look like it was an inside job done from within the maintenance crew. Maybe somebody who had beef with Rellan. And then when they discovered that Ari was a witness and Leslie snatched him, well, it seemed like the perfect opportunity to maybe kill 2 birds with one stone. Get rid of the witness and pin the murder of his old man on him. Okay, interesting. Now we have the murder weapon valve piercer connected to Perry Flint, but also to Lowen Cray, because Perry gave Lowen the murder weapon. So we're at 5 clue points for Lowen Cray. If we can connect him to one other clue, then we know that he is the one who killed Rellan Phist. So we're going to end this scene here, and let's have a quick look and see what we need to do with the chaos factor. I'm going to say that this scene was fully in Silva's control. She directed the conversation and she extracted significant information from Corbin. She confirmed some suspicions, she gained crucial intel, and she strengthened her case. So I'm going to lower the chaos factor by 1. We are now at 6. The next most expected scene is for Silva to confront Perry Flint. He seems to be the key to all of this. It's time to have another talk with him. If Corbin is telling the truth, then Perry Flint is the one who handed out the murder weapon and possibly gave the kill order. Let's test it and see if we get the expected scene. 1. So we have an altered scene. So just as before, I'm going to roll once on the action table and once on the description table. Based on what we get, we will see how we tweak the scene. Again, I'm rolling a d4 to figure out if I'm going for the first table or the second table. On a 1 or a 2, it's the first table. On a 3 or a 4, it's the second table. 25 on table number 1 gives us create, and 39 on table number 1 gives us frighteningly. Okay, so for our altered scene here, I'm going to say that Silva spends 3 days trailing Perry Flint through the city. She expects him to be having covert meetings or taking part in clandestine drops or doing nefarious things, but she doesn't see any of that. He's calm and disciplined and predictable, and it's driving her a little nuts. On the third night that she's following him, he climbs the executive access stairwell and enters Roderick Fenwick's private quarters. If you remember, Roderick Fenwick was the man that Perry Flint was guarding in his role as an enforcer for the Serpent's Kiss when she first approached him. And when he exits, Silva is tired of waiting. So Silva trails him until he gets to a fairly shadowy, dark, private part of the city, maybe an alley of some sort. And she's going to pull her pistol on him, and she's going to press it into the back of his head, and she's going to say something. Shall we see what she says? Let's roll on the character conversations table. 83, peace, interesting, and 62, kind. The alley is narrow and slick with condensation. Perry doesn't hear Silva until the cold press of her pistol touches the base of his skull. He freezes. There's a breathless second before Silva speaks. Don't panic, soldier. I'm not here to spill blood, unless you give me a reason. Perry tenses. She can feel it in the slight shift of his posture, the flicker of instinct from old combat training. But he's smart enough not to reach for a weapon. I need answers. You've got them. And I think you'd rather walk away from this than bleed in a gutter for someone else's lies. I'm giving you a chance here, Perry. Be smart. Talk to me. Okay, so given what she's just done, I think she has earned her discovery check straight up. So I'm going to ask whether she finds anything, or whether she discovers anything interesting, whether he tells her something that is useful. So we are at Chaos Factor 6. I'm gonna say it's likely that he's gonna give her something useful, given that she's got a gun to the back of his head. 44, so that's a yes. I'm going to roll on the suspects table, and we don't have any more progress points, so it's just a straight up roll. That's a 1. We got a new suspect. Interesting. Okay, so he's going to give her a new suspect, and I'm going to say that the new suspect is Roderick. I'm going to say that he is the one who was pulling the strings all along from the top down, and Perry's going to give him up. Perry's breath is shallow. You don't know what you're doing. I know you passed the kill order. I know you handed off the weapon. And I know Lowen is dead now, just like Rellan. There's a long pause, and then slowly Perry lifts his hands in a gesture of compliance. I did what I was told. By who? Say the name, Flint. There's a long pause, and then Fenwick. Roderick Fenwick. He had me hand Lowen the tool, told me to make it look like an inside job. And Ari? Ari wasn't part of the plan. That was Leslie being an idiot, trying to clean up what didn't need cleaning. So you're telling me that this whole thing, from the kill order to the cover-up, came from Fenwick? Yeah, and if he finds out I told you, I'm next. Okay, so we're gonna write down here Roderick Fenwick. Now here's what's interesting. We can connect Roderick Fenwick to the murder weapon. He's the one who had Perry hand Lowen the murder weapon. So that gives me 1 clue point for Roderick. Normally, we would need 6 clue points to wrap it up, or we would need to roll for a clincher clue. Get the clincher clue, wrap up the whole story. But I feel like we have beautifully wrapped up the story. Silva has learned everything she needs to learn. She's learned that Lowen Cray was the one who killed Rellan Phist, at the order of Perry Flint, who was following orders from Roderick Fenwick. So Roderick is the mastermind behind all of this. Lowen is the one who killed Rellan with the valve piercer, We know that Leslie kidnapped Ari to clean up something that didn't need cleaning up, that he was working on his own, which is why he tried to throw Silva off the scent by telling her that the brass cufflink belonged to Langwin Bell as opposed to Lowen Cray, because he knew who had actually killed Rellan and he wasn't going to give that up. So I feel like at this point we know everything there is to know about this mystery. The only thing we don't know is where the technology cache is so that Silva can finish her job for her client. But again, that is not what we were doing here. The only thing we were doing here is trying to figure out who killed Rellan Phist. And we know that. So as far as I'm concerned, we have reached a very satisfying conclusion to this mystery that took me 4 play sessions to play through and that I had a great time with. So I'm just going to narrate something that will help me wrap all of this up in a way that feels satisfying to me and to Silva. The alley smells like old iron and scorched oil. Silva lowers the pistol, but doesn't step back. It wasn't supposed to be like this. None of it was. It never is. Look, Fenwick doesn't leave trails. By handing Lowen that blade, that was deliberate. He wanted the murder pinned on somebody obvious. Rellan had a kid on the maintenance crew. Maybe that kid had a reason to hate his old man. Who knows? Who cares? It would have been such a neat and tidy story. And Lowen? Disposable. Just like the rest of us. She nods, the weight of the case settling in behind her eyes. I've got enough now. Enough to pull the right threads. Maybe even enough to help a friend burn it all down. Perry turns just slightly, eyeing her over his shoulder. Old habits die hard, huh? You still think you're no longer one of us? Silva doesn't answer him. She just turns and starts down the alley. Behind her, Perry stays right where he is. They both know the serpent's kiss never really lets anyone go. She turns the corner and disappears into the night. Later, back in her apartment, she sets the valve piercer down beside the envelope she collected. Sets the brass cufflink down too. The names are all accounted for now. Rellan Phist's murder has been traced, start to finish. Lowen Cray killed him. Perry handed him the weapon. Fenwick gave the order. Leslie tried to clean it up. Tried to frame Ari and failed. But she doesn't smile and doesn't feel triumphant. She just feels tired. The tech cache is still out there. Her client still expects her to find it, but that's tomorrow's problem. Tonight, she locks her doors, draws the blinds, and finally lets herself rest. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this mystery adventure and you got a good idea of how you can use the Mystery Matrix to pull together a satisfying story using the Mythic Game Master Emulator. If you have any questions or comments about this session, about solo RPGs, about anything at all, please feel free to leave them in the comments down below. And the next time you want to go on an adventure and watch somebody roll some dice, you know where to find me. See you at the quiet table.